Generally, there are only two reasons I get up here. It's either to witness or to confess. Today, let me confess. I hate sharing candles. They always make me uncomfortable to the point that sometimes you'll see me over there gritting my teeth. I'm not alone in this criticism of sharing candles. There are UU ministers, I have heard them, who see the practice of sharing candles as a sign of a sick congregation. These ministers don't like the fact that sharing candles can, and frequently do, get way out of hand. That they can be trivial as restatements of the morning news or just repeated announcements, something like show and tell sometimes. They feel that sharing candles can be a limiting factor to the growth of the size of the congregation. And there are some ministers who really want their congregation to grow so that the plate will go further. I can agree with some of these sentiments. However, I also realize when I think back about all my years coming to this place, what I most frequently remember, more than sermons, more than parties, are those candles lit from the souls of those I know and care about. It is possible that one reason I am uncomfortable with sharing candles is that I have difficulty being intimate about anything. That sharing my personal feelings is not something I do regularly or easily. I share other feelings, but not. We compensate. I know that sharing candles are very important to some, a reason to come to church for some, and an expression of our personal faith community. But I also know that I am not the only person who sometimes is uncomfortable with sharing candles. A couple of examples come to mind. I remember one morning, a visitor, some of you will remember this, an old hobo-looking guy came up, lit a candle, and shared, I think, 2 complete verses of Old Rugged Cross. People were a little uncomfortable, and I loved it. But what is appropriate for sharing candles? This morning I want to dig deep into the meaning of sharing candles. We start with Prometheus and the story of fire. I think it's neat that it's called forethought. Archaeologists tell us that the first evidence of controlled use of fire is found around Lake Turkana in Kenya. Patches of scorched earth, which indicated repeated campfires, date back to about 1.6 million years ago. Prometheus came real early. He had hearth structures in the Balmora cave in Spain are perhaps 240,000 years old. There are domed hearths or ovens which were used to bake bread that date back to about 40,000 years. There are anthropologists who claim that it is the use of fire in cooking which allowed the human brain to develop the way it did. Our teeth are not well suited for grinding grain or for ripping meat, and it is only by cooking that we can ingest enough nutrients to feed our hungry brain, which is one of the most calorie-consuming organs in the body. So it is easy to think that first spark of fire brought to earth by Prometheus is still burning. I can imagine our distant ancestors sitting around a fire in the early evening, sharing a meal, telling stories, and dancing out the day's deeds. Before the rather recent invention of candles, people had torches and oil lamps, beacons and sacred altars where the living flame was watched over. It was very important to keep a fire going somewhere. We have just celebrated Hanukkah, the miracle of the temple lamp, with the lighting of the menorah. Kwanzaa has its own set of candles. The Christmas candle symbolizes many things, not the least of which is the Christmas star which guided the wise men to Bethlehem. Ceremonial torches and candles are used in different traditions throughout the world. In Hawaii, every evening a man ceremonially runs through the village or the resort, lighting tiki candles, torches. These are sky lanterns. You light these and they float into the sky. I don't think we can do it around here because the fire marshal would object. There are places where it is a beautiful ceremony and they will launch hundreds of them into the sky. Other ceremonies where they put lamps on little rafts and float them down the river. So there are, if you look on the internet, dozens of listings of festivals of lights on the water and lanterns in the sky. Most of these celebrations are of remembrance and renewal, with the lanterns carrying wishes up to the sky and down to the sea. This New Year's Eve, I celebrated a fire ceremony. I know some of you have practiced this ceremony. It's a releasing ceremony. People gather around, they write something hurtful that year, a bad thought, or something that really bothers them. You write it on a piece of paper, and then one by one you go up and throw it into the fire and burn it up. It goes away. And strangely enough, it kind of works sometimes. It symbolizes the release and allows us to recenter ourselves. Martha Stewart not only recommends the use of candles for their elegance, general ambiance, and enchantment, but she will show you how to make them. For weddings and the ceremonial unity candle, to birthday wishes and memorial candles placed at the site of fallen innocents, candles convey our deepest thoughts and feelings. From the iconic candle on the sidewalk where John Lennon was killed, to the candle in the grave of a dear friend, placing a candle brings grief to light. Prometheus means forethought, and flames have always been a focus for contemplation and meditation. The urge to light a candle can be incredibly compelling. This is a story I particularly like. When I was a student at OCU, I was part of a drama troupe that toured with the USO in Germany and France for about 8 weeks. There were 10 of us in the troupe. And when we came back, we were having a party and we were talking about our experience. And it turned out that about 5 of us, each of us separately, not together, but separately, had visited Notre Dame. And that each of us had felt compelled to light a candle. What I think is amazing about that is that that is a part of a flame. As you think back about it, that those candles have been burning there for centuries. And that was not my candle, it was just a contribution to the light in the church. I'm missing a page. When we light a candle, it is never alone. Reverend Anne Felton Hines writes, "When we see the light radiating from all these different traditions, I am no longer afraid, for they remind me that I am not alone in my hopes for goodness, for peace, for warmth and abundance for all. The dark night is only temporary, and there are always others nearby who carry these same dreams and who will hold my hand as we work to make them real. They are in this very sanctuary." I wrote a little song about sharing candles because I wanted to sort of ceremonialize it. I have copies of it if anyone wants it. The words, "Now is the time to light a candle, now is the time to celebrate joy. This is the place we share our sorrow, let light and fellowship fill the void. By joining hearts, our hopes grow stronger, in willing hands the need is met. Now is the time, though times be troubled, our faith still shines, let the candles be lit." I rarely like sharing candles. Like I said, I'm pretty shy about such things. But let me start this morning by lighting a few candles for us all. After I'm finished, I want whoever feels moved to do so, to share a joy or concern, either from sharing candles of the past, this is all about old flames, and wishes for the coming year. I'm going to start by lighting my first old flame. Thank you. This is for Janet Carpenter. I lit many candles, a lot of us lit candles for Janet, specifically for the Sooners. And more specifically, she always had friends that she was concerned about. I'm going to light this one for Don Holyoke. He and Edna were pillars of our faith community. Don always lit candles that were incredibly humanist. He was always excited about a new book of science facts, and he would come up and regale us of that. This one is for Elaine Winburn. I've been here for years. She was my best fan. I always knew my meditation was successful if I could hear her sniffling in the background. An old person, Deborah Hinton. Her concern was always for Juneteenth. And she couldn't understand why we weren't outreaching to the Black community in Norman. I always tried to tell her, well, there isn't one, and what little there is has its own church. But she was very serious about that kind of thing. And this one, the last one I will write for myself, this is for Andy. It has been a joy to watch him turn into a real minister. Gee, cut his hair even. Things are happening. The Reverend David Bryce says, Thank you. I see the candle lighting as a time in our service when we speak about our lives, about the events that touch our souls, when we speak from deep within our hearts about the personal things that move and change us. Candle lighting should be a time of talking heart to heart, soul to soul, deep wellspring to deep wellspring. Is it a time when we put business aside so that the general community can be present? Now I want you to all think about somebody in the past year or the past, somebody that did something to you, or something that you're concerned about. It can be a joy. I'm particularly joyous that I may be able to retire to Cuba. So just back over here, and whoever wants to come up and want to share, you can do so this time.
Thank you. Thank you for remembering some of our wonderful people who have passed. I'd like to remember Bernie and Ethel Heston. They were the founders of this group in 1947, Lois, or somewhere in the 40s, 47, I think. Bernie, they were joys. Bernie was a chemistry professor and Ethel was botany. And one of the most marvelous things that I remember about them is Easter. Bernie always brought the vodka and or the Bloody Marys. I mean, we always had Bloody Marys on Easter. So this is for Bernie and Ethel Heston.
Congregation is the hand, its ups and downs and ins and outs.
Hi, I'm Mike. This is for a future situation. After months and months of discussions, which happened in Asian style, Royal Timber College and OU are about to sign an MOU, memorandum of understanding, for OU undergraduates to head off every summer to RTC to study gross national happiness and so forth. I'm very pleased because I'm going to be one of the first professors along with them. 7 to 12 undergrads should be interesting for a month. Thought I'd be able to reconnect with my old friends as well in Bhutan, and I have a lot of them.
I'm Sarah, and I'm going to light a candle for Bart Vaughn, who died on the 26th. He was a nice person to know and a good member of the Norman community.
Blair, I think you created a monster taking us back into the
That's where I come from.
I want to remember Elman and Bob Proctor. I don't know if any of you, some of you remember them. I also want to remember Mike Binns. His parents, Patty and Bill, are here in town this weekend, and they were members of our congregation for many, many years. And Mike passed away this past year, their son. And I also want to remember Richard and Glenda Morris. Richard, I think, has moved to a new facility. He's with us over in Florida. And Glenda, now Glenda Walker, was a member of our congregation who went to Harvard and met divinity school and became a Unitarian minister of her own congregation in Wausau, Wisconsin for 10 years. So just old friends and old memories, Larry, you did that.
I remember Mike, he had, one year he was a track star at Norman High, and the next year he was in a wheelchair with a muscular dystrophy.
Good morning. I'm Brenda Wheelock, the mom of Robin and wife of David, and happy to be here today. I'm lighting this candle because of the great joy that it was to sing This Little Light of Mine. That is my favorite spiritual song, and it was taught to me by my grandmother, Nola. And I'm lighting this candle in memory of her. I did not attend a church as a child, but she was my spiritual grandmother and taught me so much, especially through that song, the belief that God's light is in all of us, that we need to let it shine, and that we should seek that light in everyone that we meet. And so I like this in honor of her and the light in all of us.
Well, I love the past. It's a wonderful place, but I love the future. 2015 to me sounds like an impossible science fiction, high-tech future, and that's exactly what it seems like. I've got a computer this big in my purse, you know. So I'm all about the future. And so for 2014, who I want to light for is my great-grandchildren, Mickey and Charlotte. The future. Yeah.
I'm Wayne. Good morning. I want to light a candle to remember a student and friend of mine, Sean Warden, who took his own life just over a year ago. Son of Joy and Sue Haas, who are longtime members.
I'm Marge. This is for Brenda. I'm always so happy to see her.
This is a candle for the UU leadership that I've experienced since I came to this congregation the very first day that the two separate congregations merged. And I would like to light this for Emily Costosi, who was our first board president. She took us through, writing bylaws and getting the two kind of different spirits together into one spirit, and I think that's how we see each other now. And she was influential in naming the congregation, although we named ourselves the West Wind Unitarian Universalist. And for Hal Spake, who's taken us into the future and urged us to have a minister and that's changed our congregation in many ways. And we've just been fortunate, I think, to have these two leaders, and they should be honored.
I'm Andy. Melissa took mine. I came here too, and we were two separate congregations, and I can't tell you how pleased I am that we're not anymore. It's really exciting to watch each and every one of you participate in each other's lives and grow together. The way that you guys compassionately interact with one another and with our community, it always blows my mind. you guys probably don't know this, but there are people in this congregation that I call at random hours of the day and night to do things for me. And so far, every single one of you stepped up and helped. And that, when I say for me, I mean for us, for our congregation. I know that sounds weird, but I get phone calls because people have missing children, and I get phone calls because people have relatives that are sick, and I get phone calls because people in our community are without food or without place to stay. And I don't know how to handle any of that stuff, but you guys do a great job of it. And you guys do a great job of it regularly. It's really very impressive. So my candle today, since I can't put a candle in for joining together unless I pull that one out, is for the people in our community that aren't able to be here today but are part of our community. I'm constantly and regularly reminded about the people that have to stay home because they're not able to be here, and you guys do a really good job of taking care of them as well. So.
I'm Dave. I mentioned, those of you that are here regularly have heard me mention several times my Uncle Bob, who's struggling with ALS, and I've talked about how he's declining because of that, and I'm just thankful that he's been an important influence in my life growing up. We got to spend another Christmas with him. We didn't know how long he's going to be going, and I can only say he's still there in here. Yeah. ALS only affects what you can do with your muscles, and that's for the past. For the future, I just want to see medical science develop a cure for ALS so that he can outlive all of us. So,
I won't light a candle, but this is for Andy's haircut.
I'd like to light a candle for my old flame sitting over there. With luck, if we make it another 2 days, we will have been married 25 years.
I'm Charles. There are so many people that I have lost. This last year, I lost 2 very good friends and was not able to make it out to the West Coast for either of their wakes and their remembrances. And that was rough. But specifically, I want to light this for a love in my heart that will never go away, for Kelly Burke, who was my very best friend and will always be my very best friend. She passed away from AIDS in 2003. And for my mother, who passed away in '99, I actually had the opportunity of visiting with her 3 times this month. She usually visits me in my dreams a couple times a year, and I got 3 visits in 1 month, and that is a joy for me. So,
I'm Donna, and I have a candle of joy. I'd like to be able to describe it, but I don't think I can very well. I have this image of these people, these columns of people marching through time. And I just want to light this candle for the UUs who've gone before us and for the UUs that are going to go on with us. Oh, wow, I burned myself too.
Bring fire.
I was going to move it back. Go ahead.
The microphone.
No, I was going to move the microphone.
This is for all the joys and concerns that, of course, go unspoken. For those of us For those who are not here to light a candle, this is for those. This is a tradition that no doubt will continue, despite my misgivings.